Hello friends, and thank you for taking the time to watch my final update on the US presidential elections. I hope you are as excited to watch this video as I have been while putting it together. If you are interested in the details behind this video, I suggest watching my previous videos on this topic. In my previous videos, I talked about these 8 criteria that the Republicans need to meet in order to win the US presidential elections. I also shared the election results of the past 96 years to prove the validity of these 8 criteria. Every time all 8 criteria were not met, Republicans lost the election. And I also showed that the first 7 criteria will have been met at the time of the election this year. In my last video, I touched on this last criteria, which is the only criteria that will not have been met at the time of the election. I had also discussed how Rahu, with its 9th house aspect on Mars, was going to create an illusion that Mars is not debilitated. And finally, I promised to share my final update after I had been able to sense the strength of this Mars debilitation with my hypersensitivity. This would allow me to make an accurate prediction rather than blindly predict that Kamala Harris will win the election because one criteria has not been met. To make it easy for you to understand what is currently happening in the skies, I have created this simple diagram. As we can see, Earth is behind Mars as of 20th October. And on 30th November, Earth catches up with Mars, and hence when we look at Mars in the sky on this day, it will appear as though it has stopped. And then as the Earth passes ahead of Mars in December, when we look at Mars in the sky, it will appear as though it is traveling backwards. As you know, this is due to the concept of relative motion. On election day, the Earth will still be behind Mars, but it will be closing the gap between the two. From a relative motion perspective, Mars will appear to be slowing down in the sky.
It's slowing down, sir.
As a result, despite Mars being debilitated in Cancer, which favors the Democrats, the fact that it is slowing down will reduce the debilitation effect. Now, unfortunately, I am not an expert at calculating the exact amount of energy needed to tip the scales to one side. However, due to my hypersensitivity to planetary energies, I sense that this retrograde event will reduce the adverse impact of the 8th criteria, which is the only criteria that is stopping Donald Trump from taking the White House this election. Furthermore, Venus will enter Sagittarius on 6th November after 5 p.m. Whenever Venus has been in Sagittarius at the time of the election, Republicans have always won the election because Venus is the arch rival of Jupiter. Now, I have not included this position as a 9th criteria. However, this position of Venus is strong enough to qualify as a criteria with equal strength as the first criteria. During this particular election, it will neutralize the energy of Jupiter's retrograde motion in Taurus, which is almost equivalent to Jupiter transiting Aries, which is also a fire sign like Sagittarius that supports the Democrats. This retrograde transit of Jupiter in Taurus would have otherwise prevented the first criteria from being met. So based on all this information that we discussed, what is the final verdict? The outcome of the US presidential election won't be clear-cut as of 5th November. However, as the days pass, the results will start to tip in Donald Trump's favor. The Democrats, as well as other international actors, will attempt to overturn the election outcome with whatever means they possibly can. Eventually, after a long battle with a lot of forces, Donald Trump will be inaugurated as President of the United States on 20th January. This verdict is accurate to a level of 95% because the 8 criteria will not have been fully met. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to watch my other videos on health and astrology. Thank you and God bless America.